Good morning. Hand today is ace 10. Played this one last night. So in this hand, I'm in the cutoff, folds to me. I open raise. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Here's my open raising range from the cutoff. And big blind calls. Now big blind's playing 16-10. I think he's somewhat tight. And then you look at his called 2-bet pre-flop. It's at 27% from the big blind. So I think he is actually going to have pretty wide and weak range. I will also note that he does have 3-bet. He has 3-bet 5%. So just looking at his 3-bet range, it's kings, ace queen suited plus, ace king offsuit. So I put together this range here. I assume he's going to 3-bet with queens plus. I've got ace queen suited plus. I've got ace king here. Maybe it includes ace queen off. Maybe it doesn't. But we're looking at about 23% of hands. You know, all the broadways. He's got suited connectors, suited one gappers, pocket pairs. He got in for 2 extra bets. Got a discount. Flop comes out 10-7-7. Looks pretty decent for me. Villain 2 bets. It's on me. I think I'm going to be c-betting here a huge percentage of the time. Villain's fold to c-bet stats are actually pretty low, so I do think he was going to probably call with a lot of hands. Yeah, it's possible he has a 10. It's possible he has a pocket pair like 9s, 8s, or something lower. I think he's calling with overcards. It doesn't seem like he's folding a whole lot. He's folding more when he's out of position, but I think he tends to call. And then you could see this is when on the turn in the river it seems to be when he really folds. So he folds in position 13% and then 80% on the turn. On the river, he folded 57%. He didn't fold 0 out of 2, but then he folded 2 out of 2 on the river. So I think he sees a flop and then ends up doing his folding on the turn in the river. That's fine. I'm going to get some value now. Might as well. I've got a top pair with the ace. He calls king of spades. That helps my range, helps my perceived range. Definitely, I've got the stronger range here. Villain checks. I almost checked behind. I wasn't quite sure what GTO would say now that I've picked up the spade draw, but I think it might look a little weird if I did. So, I've got second pair and I have flush draw, so I'm going to bet. My thought was if I bet and he raises, I'm probably going to be calling here with this spade draw and then expecting to have to hit the spade draw. If I bet and he calls, then if I hit the spade, I'm going to continue. If I don't, then I'm probably just going to check behind and take the showdown. So he calls for hearts, comes out, he checks. That's what I did. I just took the showdown. So let's see what GTO tells us. I programmed it in so villain's not going to donk bet if he hasn't shown aggression. So hopefully he doesn't lead at all in the tree. So I have him checking 100%, and then we're going to be betting about 50% of the time. Definitely, we are betting ace 10. What hands are we not betting? 8s and 9s. We're not betting some of the low pocket pairs. We're not betting some of these small suited aces. And I think I could believe that because if we look at villain's range, he's going to probably hit quite a few 10s. He's got the ace 10 plus. He has the king 10, queen 10, jack 10, suited and offsuit. So I think he's going to be hitting that quite a bit. I think not betting jack 10 seems a little strange. You're not betting queen 10. I think we would be betting our top pair. I mean, we're definitely betting some of these over cards that don't connect, king, queen, king, jack. We're using those as a bluff, and also because we have over cards, and we figure we're going to get a second barrel if we catch a Broadway card. So we kind of have that going for us as well. But as far as jack 10, queen 10, we've got top pair, okay kicker. We favor ace 10 more than we favor king 10 or queen 10. So let's see, if we bet and he raises, we're calling with some of those. I guess if we check and he bets, we're calling with all of those. I guess we're setting it up to, check with some of those top pair because we're checking some of these smaller pocket pairs and we're protecting our ranges. We're checking some of our offsuit aces as well. So I'm glad that we bet. Villain should be calling. It's going to be calling with quite a bit. And King of Spades comes. Note that his calls, it doesn't look like he's calling with a lot of no-mate hands. Looks like he's got, 2-card backdoor flushes. Some of those he's calling. You could see these King Queen, Ace Jack, Ace 9, Ace 8. He's got some backdoor draws that he's calling those. And he's calling those to protect against always getting cbet. So he calls, checks to me 100%. Now it's on me. What do I do? And it looks like we are betting most of the time. We bet the flop. We're betting. We're firing again at the turn. 10-9 tends to be a check. 9s and 8s tend to be checks if had we bet them, but we're going to probably just check those on the flop. And we did. We are firing those Broadway cards that we were betting with the understanding that if a Broadway card comes on the turn, we're going to fire that second barrel. So I think that is our play. Ace 2, Ace 3, Ace 4. We had small percentage of those. Those that do bet, we're going to be betting again. So I do think this goes into that idea where this turn card improves our fold equity because I think it hits our range. It hits our range harder than it's going to hit Villain's range. So we bet. Villain's going to be calling with a lot of those 10s. His 3-bet range, it looks like quads. Or his check raising range looks like quads, looks like trips, full house. So maybe if he raises, yeah, we call with our flush, we call with our 10s. What is he using as some of the bluffs? He's got some open enders that he's going to use as bluffs. So Queen Jack, Jack 9, double belly buster 9-8. So there is my plan of betting if I get raised, calling, and then seeing if we hit the spade. I think that's a good play. All right, call. 4 of hearts probably doesn't change it, even with the 2 of hearts. Villain checks. And now we are betting with, we're going for some value with pocket pair below the top card. Jacks and queens, because we beat the 10s, okay? And top pair plus. We're going for value. We have some middle pairs that are going. Some of those ace 10 offsuit ace 10s. But mostly it's going to be if we can beat the 10, we're going to continue because I think that the 10 is the most likely hand that Villain's going to have. Why didn't I bet? Why didn't I bet the ace 10? If 10 is the most likely hand that he has, and I have top kicker, why didn't I bet that? Thinking my kicker's good. I think we have showdown hand. I don't want to necessarily turn that into a bluff. I think hands that call are going to be a mix. I think 10's going to be probably the lowest that he's going to call. And then he himself is going to have some of these other hands. So 43% of the time he's going to have this middle pair that I beat. But then, let's see here, 25% of the time he's going to have a hand that beats me. So I think we are targeting like even jacks and queens. I think yeah, you beat the 10s, the 10x hands, but you don't beat the king x hands. So you know, I like how we're betting. We are betting top pair. We're betting king. And I wonder about jacks and queens. I wonder if we have that in there. I wonder why we have those in there. I think it's because he does have possibility of calling with the 10. I think that might be it. So we did check, and we saw showdown. So what did he do? So right now it looks like we're doing okay. Villain shows king jack off. That he did not have that here in this range. So we bet. What is he calling? He's supposed to be folding most of that. King of hearts, jack of diamonds. King of hearts, jack of diamonds. I have him folding his entire range. So, I mean, if he's going to be calling with those, oops, let's do this. He probably doesn't have any of these raising range. He's probably calling with all of those. What is his check raising range here? I think this is a pretty dry board. I think 10s are going to call. Jacks could raise here. I think there is a possibility jacks raise. I think he calls with his aces. Jack 9 calls with those. 10-8, 9-8. He calls with the 7s. Let's say he calls with all of his pocket pairs, but he folds those. I think also we're going to probably fold some of these small aces. Let's do that. Let's run that. Let's say he's calling. Not really raising much, but just calling. So let's check this out and see if my strategy changes much. I'm going to say probably not, because I think he's going to get rid of his hands on the turn or the river. But we'll run this and we'll come back. All right, so it just because if he's calling with that wider range, we're just betting 100%. That's kind of what I expected. We're betting basically 100% because he's going to be calling so wide. Then we're going to be doing a lot more checking. So I think we were doing a lot of our checking on the flop against a GTO player. Now we're going to be doing a little bit more checking here on the turn. You can see that we are betting ace-10 hearts again, or ace-10 spades. I think at this time, if we bet, I don't think Villain's just going to be calling with a bunch of junk. I think Queen Jack's probably going to call because he now has open ender. So let's fix these. I think Queen Jack's going to call. Ace Jack, probably not. I think he hasn't. It was 0 out of 2 and then 100%. So, I mean, maybe he calls. Let's do this. Fold the Ace Jacks. Fold the Ace Queen. He's calling with his pair. Calling with Queen Jacks. Calling with 10-9s. Raising trips. I think raising with the 10, raising with our 7s. We're going to say with all the 7s. And flush draws are just going to be calls. Flush draws are calls, including the straight draws. He doesn't have any trips with that. Open enders are calls. Okay, so I think we've got these set up. Jack 9, I don't think is raising. I think he's just calling. I don't think he has any raises here. Eight-6 with a gut shot. Yeah, maybe that's just a call. Ace 9. Yeah, he's folding all those unless he has a spade. All right, let's run this, and we'll be back. All right, so it looks like if he's calling with that wide range, we're betting again, 90%. We're still betting, like our ace 10. This time now we've got the flip. I think this is where I was catching the possibility of checking. Betting here because according to GTO, he should be raising, and I do think he's raising this. He's raising those trips, and I think that's something we want to try to avoid because we do have, we've got some equity with that flush draw. We don't want to see him raise, and then, yeah, it looks like we are calling somewhat with the flush draws, although it looks like a lot of them were folding. So I think ace 10 is possibly here to protect some of these small pocket pairs that are now going to give up and not bet again. So let's say we did bet, he called, and again, 2 hearts versus 4 of hearts doesn't matter. He checks, and we're betting our top pair hands. We're not really betting our tens. I think this is probably closer to how we played, knowing that he called with that king jack set. He's getting there. He's going to have hit the king. The 4 misses. So I think if we bet here, he's folding all of his misdraws. He's only calling with a pair plus, with probably 10 plus. So I don't think it's any. I think pocket jacks calls. I think we're going to have to fix that as well. I think pocket jacks falls. If he's calling with his tens, he's calling with his jacks. I don't think the non-pair hands call. Nines and eights, I think, are probably likely going to fold at this point. So just to be on the safe side, we'll run it one more time and come back when it's done. All right, so we're still betting. He's still calling. We're still betting here. Still half the time, more than half the time, checking with ace 10. So that could have been a slight improvement, but I think our bet's going to be okay too. He calls. I think we're betting 31%, and still, I think even with his range, ace 10, queen 10, jack 10, we're just going to check. We're going to be betting jacks, queens plus. We're betting these because he's calling with the tens. I don't think it's what. I think ace 10 is probably like a close point, whether we bet or not. And we could probably look at combinations, and it's probably one of those where the equity of or the EV of betting versus checking is like the same. So I think checking here just kind of helps, gets us to showdown, less variance. All right, so this is the hand. Disappointed that I lost. However, I was thinking about it last night after the hand went, and when the hand, after we finished, I said, oh, of course, king jack off. But then I thought, well, how was my play? Because I did consider, just checking behind on the king to avoid getting that check raise, but I went ahead and fired again. And it looks like that's okay. I think we could have made either decision. I think it's probably a little bit more interesting here that that's like one of those hands that we do check. Queens, it looks like it's another one. Probably more likely to check with the queen of spades than to bet, probably because we've got spade blockers. But for the most part, we're being aggressive on the flop. We're being aggressive on the turn. So I think I played this okay. If you like this hand, look tomorrow for another.